Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are staring down the ultimate certainty. The one thing every human being experiences, and asking a pretty radical question.
What if it wasn't certain?
Exactly. What if death was optional? We are diving deep into immortalism.
Yeah, and our mission today is really to unpack this whole position. It's philosophical, it's ethical, and increasingly it's becoming scientific too.
Right.
It treats death not as some inevitable natural part of life.
Which is how most of us think about it.
Totally. Instead, it sees death fundamentally as a problem, a technical problem, an ethical problem, one that humanity actually must solve.
So when we talk about immortalism, it's not just like wanting to live a bit longer.
No, much bigger than that.
We're talking about the active pursuit of, indefinite existence. And the sources really frame this mindset by what it pushes against.
Absolutely. Immortalism is really defined in opposition to philosophies that accept death, or maybe even welcome it.
Like what sort of things?
Well, you've got concepts like antinatalism, which kind of sees existence itself as a harm, or quietism, which advises just calmly accepting natural limits to minimize suffering.
Okay.
Immortalism just rejects all of that. Flat out, it views death as the #1 moral tragedy.
Wow.
Yeah, the ultimate technical challenge we face, and honestly, the biggest barrier to human flourishing.
So the core thesis here is, it's pretty radical. Death is an unnecessary evil.
That's it.
And if we can solve the issues, biological, digital, whatever, that cause it,
Then we have a moral obligation to actually do it. It's an ethical demand, really, and it's rooted in a kind of technological optimism.
right, a belief that we can engineer our way out of it.
The argument boils down to this. Mortality is not morally justified. Preserving consciousness, potential, knowledge, that's the goal. So achieving indefinite life becomes, for them, humanity's top moral duty.
Okay, but indefinite life itself.
Yeah.
That can look wildly different depending on who you ask, right?
Yeah.
The sources break immortalism down into 4 distinct paths.
Yeah, based on how they define immortality.
Let's start with maybe the most grounded one, biological immortalism.
Right. This is the anti-aging route, the biomedical approach.
Fixing the body.
Essentially, yeah. The position is that the body isn't meant to die. It breaks down over time, like a machine wearing out.
Okay.
So this path involves really sophisticated stuff, gene editing, cellular rejuvenation techniques, fixing mitochondrial decay, all that jazz.
So it's basically viewing aging itself as a disease.
Pretty much, yeah. A treatable condition, not some fixed, inevitable process.
And the big name here is Aubrey de Grey, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. De Grey and his SCNS Foundation. That stands for Strategies for Engineered Negligible Senescence.
So catchy.
Yeah. Well, they propose treating aging as like a collection of maybe 7 distinct solvable biological faults.
Solvable faults.
Yeah,
Okay.
right. They argue we don't need magic wands here. We just need persistent, clever engineering to patch these biological flaws. Clean up the gunk in ourselves, repair molecular damage until the body just maintains itself indefinitely.
Sounds incredibly complex, but okay. At least the end result is still recognizably human, I suppose.
Right.
But let's pivot now to the second path, which kind of asks us to ditch the body altogether. Digital or technological immortalism.
Yes. This is the mind-uploading crowd.
Right.
They look at the biological body not as something to repair, but as, an inherent design flaw. It's gonna fail eventually.
So the goal is?
To copy the mind, everything. Memories, personality, how it processes information, and transfer that consciousness.
Transfer it where?
To a computer, maybe an AI replica, or even a fully simulated environment. Living in the machine, essentially.
Okay, this immediately throws up huge questions about identity, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
Like, is a digital copy actually you? The sources dig into this philosophical hurdle, something about destructive versus non-destructive uploading.
Yeah, that's a fascinating distinction they make. So imagine a non-destructive copy. You scan the brain, make the digital version, but the original biological person is still there walking around. Now you have 2 of you, a digital twin. That's basically cloning consciousness.
Right.
But then there's destructive uploading. The idea is you scan the brain, maybe slice by slice, and destroy the original in the process.
Ooh.
Yeah. And the claim, or maybe the hope, is that your consciousness has seamlessly transitioned into the digital substrate.
But that requires a massive leap of faith, doesn't it? Believing that the information pattern is the continuity of consciousness.
It's a huge leap, a metaphysical one, really.
Because if the biological you dies the moment the upload finishes,
Yeah.
did you survive? Or did you just get replaced by a perfect digital successor immediately?
Exactly. It's a foundational philosophical puzzle wrapped up in future tech.
Okay, moving away from the wires and code. Path number 3. Spiritual or metaphysical immortalism.
Right. Here, death isn't seen as a failure of biology or tech. It's more like an illusion.
An illusion.
An illusion that consciousness itself can overcome.
Ah, okay. So this is where we see ideas from various religions and spiritual traditions.
Precisely. Things like the Buddhist concept of nirvana or Hindu moksha, or maybe the Christian idea of the immortal soul finding eternal life.
So the goal isn't fixing the body or copying the mind, but transcending the physical altogether.
Through enlightenment, spiritual transformation, realizing that eternal existence lies beyond the material world.
Got it. And then the fourth path, which sounds the most abstract, cosmic or evolutionary immortalism.
Yeah, this one shifts the focus completely. It's not really about the individual person's fate anymore.
Okay, so what's it about then?
It's championed by, long-term thinkers, people like Elon Musk talking about becoming multiplanetary, or philosophers like Nick Bostrom focused on existential risk.
Right.
The goal isn't your personal indefinite lifespan. It's about the immortality of civilization or the species or even just intelligent life itself.
So surviving the big cosmic threats, asteroids, climate collapse, nuclear war.
Yeah.
The great filter idea.
Exactly, ensuring that intelligent life continues existing potentially for billions of years, spreading across the stars.
So under this view, an individual dying is acceptable.
Relatively speaking, yes. The individual death is tragic, perhaps, but the extinction of humanity, the loss of all future potential, all knowledge, all creativity yet to come, that's the ultimate unforgivable moral catastrophe.
So the focus is purely on perpetuating the species or intelligence as the vessel.
Precisely. Keeping that candle lit indefinitely.
Okay, so we have these 4 paths: fixing the body, uploading the mind, transcending spiritually, or ensuring species survival. But let's dig into the philosophical whys. Why should we even want to define mortality? What are the core justifications driving this?
Well, they often start with a moral argument. It's frequently framed in utilitarian terms.
Easy.
If death causes suffering and loss, and if it's potentially preventable, then allowing it to happen when we could stop it is unethical.
Because it stops people from having more good experiences.
Essentially, yes. Extending life, potentially indefinitely, maximizes the opportunities for happiness, for gaining wisdom, for progress. It maximizes overall well-being or utility.
But doesn't the idea of unlimited time immediately raise questions like, does it devalue the present? If you have forever, what's the urgency or meaning of any single moment or choice right now?
That's a classic counterargument, definitely. The boredom problem, which we'll get to. But immortalists often respond that the potential for future good, more learning, more connection, solving more problems, simply outweighs those psychological risks.
They see death as imposing an artificial scarcity on experience.
Exactly. Remove that scarcity, they argue, and you gain unlimited time to pursue knowledge, ethical development, creativity. The ultimate evil, from this perspective, is the annihilation of consciousness. So the ultimate good must be its preservation and continuation.
Okay, then there's the existential argument, which feels pretty powerful. Death just ends everything, annihilates meaning.
Right. For many immortalists, our finite lifespan is the ultimate absurdity.
Why absurdity?
Because everything we build, learn, strive for, it's all ultimately wiped out by death, individually and eventually cosmically if we don't overcome it. They see death as constantly undermining our search for meaning.
So removing that final endpoint allows existence to have a more enduring, cumulative meaning.
That's the idea. Every achievement builds on the last, without the cosmic clock eventually resetting everything to zero.
And that connects directly to the progress argument, doesn't it? This is where the societal impact really comes in.
Oh, hugely. Think about it. Every time a brilliant scientist or artist or philosopher dies,
We lose all that accumulated knowledge and skill.
exactly. Decades, sometimes centuries, of specialized expertise just vanishes. Immortalists argue that ending death, or even just radically extending lifespans, would exponentially accelerate cultural and technological development.
Imagine like Einstein having 300 years instead of 76.
Precisely. Or a doctor working on cancer research for centuries. The potential speed of innovation would be, well, unprecedented. And they see this accelerated progress as a massive societal good.
And these aren't just, pie-in-the-sky ideas anymore. We can actually see these different paths playing out in the real world today, especially in tech and science.
Absolutely. You see the biological path in all the investment pouring into biotech. Researchers like David Sinclair at Harvard exploring ways to activate longevity genes, reverse aging markers.
And then there's cryonics.
Right, the ultimate long shot, maybe. Organizations like Alcor, the Cryonics Institute, freezing legally deceased people today.
Banking on future revival technology.
Exactly. Hoping that future science can repair the damage of death and aging and bring them back.
And the digital path.
That's visible in projects focused on mapping the human brain, understanding consciousness computationally. Laying the groundwork for the day mind uploading might actually become technically feasible. People like Max Moore, Anders Sandberg are up in this.
Okay, so the pursuit is real. But this is where the conversation has to get really challenging, right? Because if immortality is the ultimate prize, we absolutely have to talk about the potential cost of forever.
Yeah.
What are the serious objections, the critiques?
Well, the first big one, and maybe the most famous philosophically, is the boredom problem.
Ah, yes.
This was explored brilliantly by the philosopher Bernard Williams. He wrote an essay called The Macropolis Case.
Based on an opera, wasn't it? About a woman who lives for 300 years.
That's the one. And Williams used it to argue something profound.
Which was?
That eternal life wouldn't be a blessing. It would inevitably become meaningless, crushingly repetitive, and ultimately unbearable.
Why unbearable?
Because, Williams argued, human desires, goals, projects, they're structured by finitude. They have weight because our time is limited. If you had infinite time, you'd eventually achieve everything possible, experience everything.
Love, career, travel, learning.
Right. And once you've done it all, multiple times maybe, the subjective meaning just evaporates. It leads not to endless joy, but to a kind of profound existential exhaustion or indifference.
So his point was that the very finiteness of life is what gives our choices in our time meaning.
Exactly. It makes things matter. Take away the deadline and the motivation, the very structure of value collapses.
That really flips the moral argument on its head. Unlimited life might actually create unlimited suffering, not happiness.
It's a powerful critique.
Then we hit the huge practical problems like resource ethics.
Oh, yeah. This is massive.
If potentially billions of people suddenly gain indefinite lifespans, what happens to the planet?
Overpopulation, resource collapse. The environmental strain alone seems catastrophic. It's hard to even imagine how that would work.
But there's a deeper moral issue too, isn't there?
Yeah.
About fairness.
Absolutely. If this life extension technology is expensive, which it almost certainly would be, at least initially.
It'll only be available to the rich.
Right. You risk creating a terrifyingly divided society. A biological or digital elite who live forever, perpetually accumulating power, wealth, influence.
While everyone else continues to live and die naturally. The immortality gap.
Exactly. The potential for intensifying inequality exponentially is enormous. And the social stagnation, if the same people hold power for centuries, it's a huge ethical hazard.
And we also have to circle back to that identity and continuity crisis, especially with the digital path.
Yes. Even if we crack the tech, the scanning, the uploading, we still haven't solved the philosophical problem. Who is that digital copy?
Is it you?
If the upload process is destructive, the original you is gone. You might have created a successor that acts exactly like you, remembers everything you did, feels like you.
But is the chain of personal identity broken?
That's the core question. Are we truly preserving a life, ensuring continuity of the self? Or are we just creating incredibly sophisticated, functionally identical copies or replacements? The philosophy is really tricky there.
Yeah, deeply unsettling. And finally, there's the argument that maybe death isn't a bug, but a feature. The natural cycle argument.
Right. This perspective suggests that death isn't some flaw to be engineered out. It's actually a necessary catalyst.
A catalyst for what?
For renewal, for evolution, societal change, new ideas. Critics argue that death makes room for new generations.
Fresh perspectives.
Exactly. If the same individuals, the same power structures, the same ways of thinking remain dominant indefinitely because people don't die, wouldn't human culture, society, and progress just stagnate?
Death forces dynamism. Change forces us to adapt.
That's the argument, that eliminating it might lead to a kind of societal calcification.
So, okay, wrapping this all up, where does this leave us? We've looked at immortalism as this grand movement, part technological optimism, part existential rebellion against our deepest biological reality.
Yeah, it fundamentally views death not as destiny, but as a problem we can and should solve.
But it forces us to confront these huge questions, doesn't it?
Right.
About what it means to be human, what progress actually looks like, the nature of suffering and meaning.
Is the quest for infinite life really the highest goal? Or is it perhaps an attempt to dodge the very conditions, finitude, loss, change, that shape consciousness and give life its texture and meaning?
And the sources often draw this contrast, right, between the defiant immortalist stance and something like quietism.
Yeah, the idea that wisdom lies in accepting our natural limits calmly, that fighting against the inevitable just creates more pain.
So maybe the final thought we can leave you, the listener, with is that central tension. Does actively defying death, pushing for immortality in whatever form, truly represent the path to maximizing human potential, creativity, and happiness?
Or is acceptance, finding meaning within our finite existence, facing that inevitable entropy? Is that the greater, perhaps harder, wisdom?